how people slept and lived daily life before beds and clocks existed. You think you need 8 hours of sleep, but for most of human history, people didn't sleep that way at all. No beds, no clocks, no alarms. So, what did humans actually do when the world went dark? The sun slowly disappears behind the horizon. Darkness spreads across the land, not the soft glow of city lights, but true, complete darkness. The kind of darkness modern humans rarely experience. There are no clocks ticking, no alarms waiting to ring, no glowing screens, only silence and the rhythm of nature. A group of early humans sits beside a fire. Some lie down on the ground, resting on leaves and animal skins. Others remain awake, staring into the flames or up at the stars. No one asks, "What time is it?" Because time, as we understand it, does not exist. And yet, life goes on. For thousands of years, this was how humans lived without beds, without clocks, and without the rigid structure that defines modern life. So how did they sleep? How did they organize their days? And how did the technologies of beds and timekeeping slowly reshape human life forever? Before beds were invented, the earth itself was the mattress. Early humans slept wherever they could find safety and comfort. They used natural materials like grass, leaves, branches, and animal skins to create soft layers between their bodies and the ground. Sleeping directly on bare earth was not just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Cold ground could drain body heat. Insects could bite. Moisture could cause illness. So humans adapted. They began layering materials, creating the earliest form of bedding. Some even built simple raised platforms using branches to stay above the ground. This was the beginning of bed technology, not as luxury, but as survival. Over time, these sleeping arrangements became more sophisticated. People learned which materials provided the most warmth and comfort. Animal skins added insulation. Dry grass created cushioning. The first beds were not objects, they were solutions. But sleeping arrangements alone were not enough. The night itself was dangerous. Predators hunted in darkness. Temperatures dropped sharply. Visibility disappeared. Then came the discovery that changed everything: fire. Fire was more than warmth, it was protection. It kept animals away. It provided light. It created a sense of safety that had never existed before. For the first time, humans could control the night. Sleeping near fire allowed deeper, more secure rest. It extended waking hours, allowing people to gather, talk, and share stories even after sunset. Fire became humanity's first nighttime technology, and it transformed sleep forever. In the modern world, time controls everything. But in ancient life, time was not measured, it was felt. People lived according to natural cycles. The rising of the sun meant it was time to wake. The highest point of the sun meant midday. Darkness signaled rest. There were no hours, no minutes, no deadlines. Instead, life followed energy and environment. If you were tired, you slept. If you were hungry, you ate. If the sun was up, you worked. Time was not something to manage. It was something to experience. One of the most fascinating aspects of ancient life is how people slept. Today, we are told that sleep should be one continuous block of 7-8 hours. But historically, that wasn't always the case. Humans often practiced segmented sleep. They would sleep for a few hours after sunset, wake up naturally in the middle of the night, stay awake for a period, then return to sleep until morning. During this quiet middle period, people did not panic. They used it. They talked quietly, reflected, prayed, or simply rested. This pattern was normal for centuries. It wasn't a disorder, it was natural. Without clocks, daily life had a different rhythm. It was not divided into fixed schedules, but flowed with natural conditions. Morning began with sunlight. People gathered food, hunted, farmed, or worked on tools. Afternoons were spent continuing tasks, preparing food, or repairing shelters. Evenings were social. People gathered around the fire, shared stories, and strengthened community bonds. Night was for rest, but not always continuous rest. Life was flexible, responsive, and deeply connected to the environment. As humans settled into communities, their living environments improved. Simple shelters evolved into huts, tents, mud houses. Inside these structures, sleeping areas became more defined. People began separating sleeping spaces, using better materials for bedding. This marked the transition from temporary sleeping spots to designated sleeping areas. The idea of a bed was slowly taking shape. Beds did not appear suddenly, they evolved over time. Ancient civilizations began creating raised sleeping platforms to avoid insects, stay warmer, improve comfort. In ancient Egypt, wooden bed frames developed some of the earliest structured beds in history. Mattresses were made from straw, wool, feathers. These early beds were simple, but they represented a major shift. Sleep was no longer just about survival. It was about comfort. As societies grew, natural time was no longer enough. People needed to coordinate activities, organize labor, and plan events. This led to the development of timekeeping tools, sundials. By tracking the shadow of the sun, people could estimate time during the day. Water clocks. Water dripping at a steady rate allowed for more consistent measurement. Mechanical clocks. Eventually, gears and mechanisms were developed to track time more precisely. Time was no longer felt. It was measured. The invention of clocks changed everything. Life became scheduled, organized, controlled. People no longer worked based on daylight alone. They worked based on time. This shift became even more dramatic during the Industrial Revolution. Factories required workers to follow strict schedules. Time became a system of control. Sleep patterns changed. Segmented sleep disappeared. People began sleeping in one continuous block to fit the demands of structured life. Beds continued to evolve alongside society. From straw-filled sacks to wooden frames, they became more advanced. Eventually, modern beds emerged, spring mattresses, foam layers. Ergonomic design sleep became something to optimize. Comfort replaced necessity. But in gaining comfort, something was lost. If this changed how you see something as simple as sleep, subscribe, because the next story might change how you see your life.